Three,
Three,
two,
two,
one.
one.
Let's
Let's
go!
go!
I am the host of the PBE Podcast, Troy Tittlemeyer, joined by the Bryan Bottoms. Last time we talked was 2019, nearly 7 years ago. That was when I had one kid. Now I have three. That's when you had zero kids. Now you have one. Let's go. Congratulations on that. Thanks for presenting your work on Oklahoma, kind of an update of across the industry on wells that are really working, plays that are kind of breaking out, what's changed from about 2012, 2014 to present. You do a lot of interesting maps. I'm looking forward to sharing that, getting some feedback from people around our community. Yeah, did anything drop out specifically from the show for you?
I love the opportunity to present. I like talking about the Mid-Continent. I think there's a variety of cool, interesting plays that are ongoing, and I think the Mid-Continent just provides some of the most interesting plays comparatively to maybe any of your other basins. So a lot of cool operators doing cool things, and hopefully everybody enjoyed it in terms of the coverage. I guess it being a podcast, they won't get to see the maps, but hopefully you put those out out on YouTube or how you do it, and they can see and
Right.
follow along. So
If you're like me, it's easy to get through the day without thinking much about hydration until you start feeling tired or run down. The truth is, hydration is about more than just drinking water. Your body also needs electrolytes to help maintain fluid balance, along with nutrients that support normal muscle and cognitive function. That's where Resonate H2O comes in. It's a premium hydration mix with electrolytes, essential amino acids, and thoughtfully selected ingredients that help support hydration, focus, and everyday performance. There are no added sugars, and it's designed for anyone who wants to stay hydrated, whether you're working, training, traveling, or just trying to keep up with a busy day. If you're looking for a better way to hydrate, head over to resonateh2o.com and check them out. And while you're there, use the promo code PODCAST to save on your first order. This episode is proudly sponsored by Mandrill Energy Solutions. In today's demanding energy industry, having the right people and the right partner makes all the difference. Mandrill Energy Solutions provides tailored staffing, personnel, and equipment solutions specializing in solids control, experienced mud technicians, environmental cleanup services. Their team works closely with every client to understand their unique needs and deliver solutions that keep operations running safely, efficiently, and on schedule. Learn more at mandrillenergysolutions.com or through their LinkedIn page. Mandrill Energy Solutions, delivering the people, expertise, and solutions that power your success. It's exactly where it's
had
going
a
to go,
great time.
man. Yeah, likewise. Really appreciate you taking the time. I'm going to get my Stay Positive book. You know the drill. Got to stay positive, man. Tell me when to stop.
Right there.
Oh, yeah. Stopped it right when you said it. It's a bit of a long one. There was a man who traveled to a village to speak to a wise man. He said to the wise man, I feel like there are two dogs inside me. One dog is positive, loving, kind, and optimistic. Then I have this fearful, pessimistic, angry, and negative dog. And they fight all the time. I don't know who is going to win. The wise man thinks for a moment and responds, I know who is going to win. The one you feed the most. So start feeding the positive dog. I like
That hits. Yeah. I like that.
5 ways to love your passengers today. Make time for them, listen to them, recognize them, serve them, bring out the best in them. Man, that's it, dude.
Well,
That's your job as a father, right? Or what was your takeaway on some of that positive stuff there?
I just like that you do that every episode. I like the positivity that you bring. I would say the first one that you said, the two dogs, I feel like I have that constant battle all the time of,
We all do, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, rather than you got that dog in you, you got those dogs in you, and they're fighting. And so,
But
but
remember,
yeah,
feed
yeah,
the one dog, feed the one dog,
right.
feed the positive dog in you.
Yeah.
And that's how we're going to get through this thing, man.
Yeah, I try to remain positive. Not always do the best job of that, but I try to be. So yeah, definitely a lesson there to be learned. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And then being present, man, being present as a dad, a husband,
Oh, for
right?
sure. Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing I'd say that I've like learned just even in the past few months of being a father is just like put the phone down and just enjoy it, just soak everything in. And I've really tried to make that a higher priority in my life of just being present, paying attention, and enjoying life with the people you love the most. And so work and all kinds of things can always compete for your time and attention. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, I think, family and you know, family and children, et cetera, they mean the most.
Yeah, no, that's right. We learn that. We learn that as we go, and you get to experience it firsthand. You're told all the time, like, "Ah, you're young now. Wait till you get old." And you're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And then all of a sudden, you're old. And you're like, "What? These guys?
Right.
They were telling me. They were telling me about this, and I wasn't listening." And now I'm old. And now you're watching your kids grow up, and you're watching. You're like, "Whoa, my priority of that. That's my responsibility. I want them to have opportunities to succeed." And provide those the best you can, and give them the advice that they can contribute to society, much like you're doing. You found yourself in like the real estate analogy of oil and gas. Like, did you even have a clue that was even an option when you were in undergrad and graduate school? And yeah,
Not at all. No,
and
had no
here you
idea that
are.
this career path even existed. And you know, you often ask people how they get into geology, and I did not start as a geology major, like many people. I think you kind of find geology along the way, and really even did not do it as a pursuit of oil and gas. I wanted to be a park ranger when I graduated undergrad,
Wow.
and that proved to be more difficult than I thought. And eventually, it was just had no money, and I was waiting tables and took a job mud logging, and I guess the kind of
Wow.
rest is history there. But uh, yeah, I don't know. It's never pictured in my wildest imagination that I would end up in a job that I currently have.
Right. Enjoying it. 7 years strong, contributing. It's great, man. It's inspiring what you got going on, what you've been doing, and appreciate the love and support you got for the PBE podcast. That means a lot, goes a long ways. And we're just gonna keep putting it out there, man. We'll do another follow-up show, talk about some other things. Remember to stay persistent with your pursuit of the truth through all this data. We have time for family, but we're scientists, man, and that is different. And you got to remember that you need to spend time, critically thinking and asking the questions that you're really fueled by, and your curiosities, because you have a way to contribute back to science, man. You're a scientist, and don't you got to feed that too. You got to find time to feed that, and expand on your knowledge and understanding of certain technical things. Like, we're just constantly growing together, man, and we're here to support it.
For sure. Yep. Definitely love the both the scientific itch that geology, scratches, and then also the creative one as well. I think there's a lot of creativity that geology allows for, and making cool maps and
Yeah.
figuring out ways to tell a message is, part of that. I like the guitars you got and the setup in the back, man. That's cool.
Nice. Thanks, man. Yeah, this is working out for a home studio that I just kind of, kept doing shows and kept staying connected to, kind of having that voice through PBE podcast and Magma Chem, and right, everything that's kind of happened since the last time we did a show. And it was just recently, past 3 months, I guess, 4 months now. Things have just really heated up for the podcast company, and I'm just, going back all in, and let's create content and put it out there through PBE, man. What do you think?
I like it, man. I've been catching up on some of your recent shows of late. So I listened to the Brian Horn one the other day. Went back and listened to a couple old ones. I'm an early fan of the show. You probably remember that, but
Oh yeah.
when you had Dave Cannon on and Mike Party and a bunch of the early guests, man, I loved it. And I think I probably listened to maybe it was Mike Party. I think going through like Midland Basin stratigraphy and stuff.
Oh
Um,
man.
Man, I think I probably listened to that one like 10 times to like just when I first got thrown into kind of working more Permian stuff, I was like, all right, what the hell is going on out here? And just trying to wrap my head around it, and then listen to it on my way to work and on my way home from work to
Right on.
yeah. So it's
Well,
good stuff.
dude, that's awesome, man. Love hearing that. Obviously, wish we had Skips for the reunion here, but he's off doing his
Yeah.
PhD thing and chasing his dream to get his PhD, and then we'll see, man. Get him back into doing some podcasting once he's kind of out breathing again, and maybe get some projects rolling. Get him back to the States for some stuff. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's sad that he couldn't join us today, but I guess the other, your old, also longtime kind of co-host would have been Paritosh. I see him still
Ah,
from time to time as well. And I think the last time I saw him it was a couple months ago. My wife was playing a show. She's a musician, and
oh, that's right.
he was there, and yeah, he came up and said hi and everything. He got to meet my little boy. It was like maybe the first time we had brought the little boy to the show too. So.
Dang. What'd you name your boy?
Benny Bottoms.
Benny Bottoms. Wow. Right on. Congratulations, man. How old's the kid?
Yeah. Thanks, man. Yeah, 8 months now. So
Wow.
yeah, starting to. He's already been crawling for a while, and starting to stand up and kind of. I don't know. I'm sure he'll be walking in no time and be
Yeah.
a little hellion.
Sounds like it. Sounds like it. You're through the blob stage. Thank God for
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Those early months, man, are certainly yeah, it's a special time. It doesn't ever feel like that ever again, unless you have little ones and maybe when you're a grandparent again and you kind of get involved. But for it to be, yours and geesh, all in, day out, it's amazing, man. That's great. One of many, or you guys one and done?
My wife wants three, I think. So that's the plan. So we shall see. That's the
Nice.
first of hopefully three. What are you at now? I think saw.
Three.
Are you at three now?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
congrats on that. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. Thanks. Yep. It's been awesome. 7, 5, and 3 is what we got.
Okay, well, I think your first one was I can't remember was it a boy or a girl, I guess, and were
Girl.
they girl? Was she at Urtech that year?
Yeah,
And your wife had her on the
that's
floor there, I
right.
feel like. So
That's exactly right.
yeah,
Man, rocking it back. That's awesome. I actually listened to your old show, kind of prepping, right? I know it been obviously staying in touch and talking to you about different things along over the years, but really gone back and went, geesh, listen to that show. We were like, it was happy hour time. Like
yeah,
we were getting after it.
yeah,
But it was awesome, man. It was pretty incredible to see that. What is that? Almost 7 years, I guess, would be in September. It'd be 7 years ago.
yeah.
And you're talking about getting out of school, mud logging for Chesapeake, and then what was the name of the company? It was Top
Capstone, as she was
Tapstone.
working for at that time. Yeah.
Tapstone. And for as wild as that kind of conversation was, and seemed like how many years were you in the industry at that point?
So I did mud logging and MWD for I don't know, almost 3 years, and then went back to school, got my master's, and I think that's actually when I first met you was at the AAPG student education program or something like that. AAPG SEG. It was in Dallas. I don't remember that. They
Yeah.
like there was a bunch of us there, and I think I met you and followed you on LinkedIn from there, and saw that you started doing
Okay.
podcasts and paying attention. But yeah, then worked for Tapstone after grad school and was
And then
there.
we meet. So you're like 6 years
Yeah,
into industry, kind of. You're at 6 years from beginning of industry, like mud logging, masters, and now Tapstone. You were like 6 years into when we talked in 2019.
that's probably about right, I guess. Yeah, because it was I started January 2013, so yeah, a little maybe 6.5 years or so, and then yeah, started at Detring almost maybe a month after that podcast was recorded, at least.
Wow.
So yeah,
Wow. So yeah, you were going through the transition. Now you've been with Detring ever since,
yeah,
which is this
yeah, it's been a
show.
good ride.
This is obviously not the most traditional way we've ever started a show, but all that was fantastic, and we're definitely going to have it in the show. But this will be the official start of the conception part of the PBE
Okay.
podcast with Bryan Bottoms. You ever think of, or does anybody ever say to you when they say Bryan Bottoms and they think of that song, Apple Bottom Jeans? Do you ever get that correlation?
Bryan Bottom jeans, boots on the rig. Hey! Walk in the eye, walk in the eye. Yeah, you know it's a dig. Bryan Bottom jeans, boots on the rig. What? Sample the shale. Yeah, we do it real big. Mud logging the cut, watching the well. 5,000 feet and we're raising some hell. Derek, man, calling the bit as a blur. Samples on the belt, yeah, we bring in the fur. Bottom jeans, heavy with the weight. Analyzing the core, yeah, we never arrive late. Texas heat rising, the shale is getting deep. Bryan on the console, nobody ever sleep. Bryan Bottom jeans, boots on the rig. Hey! Walk in the eye, yeah, you know it's a dig. Bryan Bottom jeans, boots on the rig. What? Bryan Bottom jeans, boots on the rig. Sample the shale, yeah, we do it real big. Casing is set and the mud is in the pit. Bryan knows the pressure, every little bit. From the Eagle Ford to the Permian Basin floor. He's the one they call when they need a little more. Geologist vision, the strata is clear. With the boots on the rig, he's the one they fear. Jeans full of mud, but the mind is on the play. Working through the night and into the day. When the lights go down and the bit is still turning, that's the kind of fire that Bryan keeps burning. Mud in the veins, it's the rig in the soul. He's a geologist, yeah, he's in full control. Bryan Bottom jeans, boots on the rig. Hey! Walk in the eye, yeah, you know it's a dig. Bryan Bottom jeans, boots on the rig. What? Sample the shale, yeah, we do it real big. Shale sample, keep drilling. Bryan, life, yeah!
This episode is proudly sponsored by Mandrill Energy Solutions. In today's demanding energy industry, having the right people and the right partner makes all the difference. Mandrill Energy Solutions provides tailored staffing, personnel, and equipment solutions specializing in solids control, experienced mud technicians, environmental cleanup services. Their team works closely with every client to understand their unique needs and deliver solutions that keep operations running safely, efficiently, and on schedule. Learn more at mandrillenergysolutions.com or through their LinkedIn page. Mandrill Energy Solutions, delivering the people, expertise, and solutions that power your success. If you're like me, it's easy to get through the day without thinking much about hydration until you start feeling tired or run down. The truth is, hydration is about more than just drinking water. Your body also needs electrolytes to help maintain fluid balance, along with nutrients that support normal muscle and cognitive function. That's where Resonate H2O comes in. It's a premium hydration mix with electrolytes, essential amino acids, and thoughtfully selected ingredients that help support hydration, focus, and everyday performance. There are no added sugars, and it's designed for anyone who wants to stay hydrated, whether you're working, training, traveling, or just trying to keep up with a busy day. If you're looking for a better way to hydrate, head over to resonateh2o.com and check them out. And while you're there, use the promo code podcast to save on your first order.
No, I have not gotten that one. Yeah. Maybe more like bottoms up kind of songs or something, I guess.
Nice. Bottoms up, man. That's it. That's it. I like it, man. Rocking it back. Obviously, we talked about a little bit there, your kind of quick history to the show, to the first show we did. And then ever since then, we're talking about Bryan Bottoms at Detring. You lived in Houston this entire time?
Yeah. So, I grew up in Oklahoma City, went to school at University of Arkansas. And so after undergrad, got hired with Chesapeake, and so working out of Oklahoma City again. But I mean, I was a field employee, so like I mentioned, was a mud logger and then MWD, mostly working mid-continent Oklahoma stuff. And then during Tapstone, I was also in Oklahoma City. So, and then I've been since I took the Detring job. Yeah, my wife and I sold our house, uprooted our lives, and moved to Houston, and have been here
Wow.
ever since. So it's 7 years exactly this month. So
Dang. Man, well, that's still pretty that's awesome, right? You went through COVID, you had a major change just like everybody did, right? 2019, that's when I left to Arizona, kind of got into the magnachem stuff. COVID hits, you go to Houston, COVID hits, like
yeah,
right, we're all kind of adjusting to whatever that whole ripple effect was, and man, you were putting a lot of effort into basically taking the technical data that's available from publicly trading companies or large independents, anybody who's trying to basically put a package together of some reserves or some prospect that has some potential reserves or speculated reserves. Do you guys do only like fully engineered stuff, or do you take in like that lower end, like more speculative projects as well at Detring and try to help people get them placed?
all of the above, I would say. And so,
Wow.
I mean, we're kind of, in a, it's I describe it to my mom at least as like we're oil and gas realtors, basically. So like, that you would want a realtor to know the area, right? But on kind of selling oil and gas assets, it's you need a technical team, so geologists, engineers, et cetera, and come up with some sort of value that we believe it's worth. Whether it's if we just use like an unconventional example of how many more sticks can you drill, what's remaining, kind of help the engineers with type curves, make sure they're using the correct well sets there. Of like, we're not throwing Middle Sprayberry wells into our Wolfcamp A type curve or something, and yeah, we kind of are lower to middle market, I would say. Sell side advisory is mostly our bread and butter. So I would say all the way down to maybe $5 million deals up to 200, 250 plus. I mean, we don't really we'll take larger deals, but usually I would say, your larger banks tend to get those. And so kind of our sweet spot there is just lower middle market. Have some other competitors in other cities and kind of in here in Houston as well. But competing for that business. So we mostly do sell side advisory, but we do buy side advisory as well. And then you ask kind of like, do we do prospects or kind of more proven stuff? I mean, we do PDP blowdown deals to fully undeveloped inventory heavy
Wow.
deals. I'd say minerals is probably like 50% of our business, and the Permian's really hot with that. So out of even the mineral game, I'd say Permian's probably 50% of our business in the mineral space. But we
Hmm.
sell non-operated deals, we sell operated deals. We've done some cool kind of geologic prospect deals over the past couple years. So maybe a couple years ago, we sold a completely undeveloped Delaware Woodford acreage position. So just
Wow.
really kind of hinging on, the geologic viability of that, and the
Yeah.
thermal
Was it
maturity, I guess was, yeah.
sure you were selling it as a gas play or an oil play?
It was oil, so it's kind of offset just to the south of where I guess it was Marathon really kind of kicked that off. And
Oh, just on the edge of the Central Basin
yeah,
platform, kind of southern edge of the Central Basin platform, big broke off
yeah,
piece, kind of
yeah,
flattens
yeah,
out and wrenches out into the Delaware. I always thought that was fascinating how it had that feature. And it was, it's tied to that massive crack that goes all the way to the Gulf of Mexico and all that. So I was always interested in how that platform came apart like that and kind of had that shelf where they were. And then the Montoya, I mean, it's affected like a lot of geology there.
for sure, yeah. So yeah, that was a cool one. I think there's actually some permits on that acreage now. We sold
Really?
another complete undeveloped acreage prospect, also a Woodford one in Oklahoma, and that one has had a couple wells drilled on it now too. So um,
Wow.
occasionally, but those are, I mean, kind of fewer and far between. Most of the time, it's more, a more of a mix of PDP and undeveloped type stuff.
Sure. Man, that's fascinating. That's a cool place to be. It's an interesting part of the business to be in. You're looking at the whole like kind of scope of things, how it all actually ends up being, economic at the end of the day. You're kind of not brokering the deal, but it's like a third party perspective on its economics, I guess. How do you bundle that up? It's kind of a third party perspective, a buyer and a seller, and you guys are analyzing all the data, kind of getting it all to in a presentation like we're going to see today. But what do you call that? Like at the end of the day, your goal is to make sure that this thing's going to be profitable, economic, operationable.
Yeah, I mean, so just like a rundown of kind of how the business works and how, I mean, most of the investment banks and even Energy Net kind of run the same model of, right? Like you're marketing something in terms of how the business works is like just like a realtor would, like you don't get paid unless we get the deal closed. So kind of connecting a buyer and a seller there.
Yep.
And then the firm would get a percentage of the overall sell price typically, like and so you want to tell the geologic story to be compelling, to show that there's still upside remaining, and kind of make the purchase price higher, so we would have a higher fee associated with that. But like we also pride ourselves on our credibility, I think, and really try to be technically sound in what you're doing. And so up front, when we're having those initial discussions with our clients, we'll determine a value that we think the market would pay for it. And all the buy side teams, whether it be private equity or just other operators and or just family offices even, they'll have a technical in-house kind of team of geologists and engineers that are going to value it
Sure.
as well. And so I think we try to be very honest with our clients up front of like, we think it's worth this, and this is what we think you'll get on the open market. And we're not trying to kind of blow smoke up anybody and
Yeah.
say it's worth double what we think, and then hope that when bids come in that you'll take the lower offer. Just at the end of the day, like we don't get paid till the deal closes. And so we're incentivized to make sure it closes. So we want to make sure we're all aligned going forward, and that the
Yeah.
expectation is, this is what the
Yeah.
value is going to be, and will be achievable.
Man, that's
Um,
awesome. And here are the
yeah,
risks, right? You got to have the risks associated with it because, like you said, it's in that scenario, you're really surviving on like that referral process, right? Like you're not going
yeah,
to set, if you sell a deal and that buyer comes back and says, man, these wells are not doing anything like we thought it was going to do, like this asset's not work. Of course, no, everybody he knows, he's going to be like, nope, I didn't have a good experience or whatever the problem was, and vice versa. When you do something that's honest and it's respectable and now it's repeatable, you're kind of doing this over and over. Now, when you got that figured out, a referral business is amazing, right? That's the best business to be in. So when you got hired right out of 2019 there after Urtech, what do you think it was, man? What did you pick up on at Detring that was like, one, love what I'm doing. I like where this is going, right? Like being a part of this process. But then what is it that you think your kind of your value? What's Bryan Bottoms bringing into this program that you just show up with and you're just consistent with that's led to, good 7 years of work here?
yeah. Great question. I think, I mean, it could be kind of a long story, and I think I said a little bit to you on, how I got here, and that I went on that podcast, and I was talking about activity in Oklahoma, and that was kind of one of the tasks that was assigned to me when I was at Tapstone, was just besides being kind of an operational geo with planning wells and steering wells and looking for behind pipe opportunities. They had me just focus on what everybody was doing around us, and making sure we're not missing
Nice.
something, make sure we're following all the trends. And so we're talking about that at that Urtech interview, and a geo actually saw me, I guess, talking about that off to the side, a geologist named Brian Flynn here in Houston. And
Okay.
he, I ran into him. I went to y'all's PBE happy hour afterwards in Denver somewhere, and I ran into him there, and he approached me and was like, "Hey, man, it seems like you kind of like you're following, what other people are doing, and I think there's an opportunity out there that I know a guy I used to work with, Richard Paul. It was my boss that hired me here,
Nice.
and he was like, I think he'd be good for it. He's looking for a geo, and so he put me in contact with him. and they called me, I think, like the next day or two. And I knew who Detring was because at Tapstone, we were looking, to acquire and divest things over the past, like the final year I was there. It was just, as a lot of companies, I think, were kind of struggling with the depressed price environment, this, kind of 2019 still, particularly
Hmm.
Tapstone, we were pretty gassy, I think. So it just, well, economics maybe not working as well. And there's a lot of also companies in Oklahoma that just weren't doing great at that time, I think, with the stack kind of densities being touted higher than they probably were in reality.
Sure.
And um, so, yeah, got in contact with them. I was looking at kind of these type of roles because as we were divesting things or looking at deals at Tapstone, we'd get, the banks come in to do a data room presentation and they'd have a team of geologists and stuff. And I was like, man, I want that job. That job looks cool. Like you get to go and present to people and kind of try to sell them on stuff. And so I started looking into that and was familiar with Detring because they were putting stuff, marketing stuff, and I'd see their posts on LinkedIn. And so, yeah, it just seemed like a cool opportunity. And then I guess from there, to answer your question of like, what do I do or bring to the table, I guess, here to stay. I've stayed curious about, what people are doing. And I think that's kind of what my talk was about that you saw the slides on of like, I've given a bunch of these over the years of just kind of activity updates. And it's almost like, it's not too technical, I would say. I show some maps and have some maps on things like that, but it's almost like a hard article with maps. And I often find that I think, a lot of outside of your geos, a lot of other people in the industry may not just be aware of like all the nuanced different variety of plays that are happening and
Yeah,
around the country and stuff. And so
sure.
I think, that's been a strong suit of mine, I guess. And I enjoy it a lot. I spend a lot of time on Enverus just poking around and
Is that
seeing where the
right?
rigs are or looking at IR
Man.
decks and things of that nature, just trying to
Well,
stay on top of what everybody's doing.
surprised you haven't been poached at to the next level of like, all right, we need a publicly trading companies coming in. Bryan Bottoms, you're like the best oil finder out there using Enverus every day. You're keeping up with the trends. Like, I'm surprised you haven't been poached by an operator recently.
I mean, I wouldn't say like none of the stuff I'm doing is exactly oil finding, I would say, like in terms of um, a lot of
Setting
this is
perps.
already out there on
That's
Anveris and
right.
just kind of like
That's right.
maybe putting it
But
into context or why this thing's unique
exactly.
and yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
But I do miss that a little bit. Like at Tapstone, I think, we not only were we like choosing where to drill and mapping to kind of further that, where can we go from here, but also just good old fashioned operator type stuff of like, hey, this well's uneconomic. It's a Woodford well. Do we have anything uphole in like the Morrow or the Cottage Grove or something that we can recomplete in? And so I used to do a lot of that and don't do that today as I'm not working for an operator
Yeah.
finding more oil reserves, I guess, but still comes in handy and still
Heck
get to look
yeah.
at a lot of logs. And yeah, I don't know. I guess I've had people approach me to go work elsewhere, but very happy with my current role.
Nice, man. It's great to hear. You could tell you like it. You're enjoying it. You're definitely sharp, and you can keep up with like you're saying. It's not you're not necessarily in the weeds, but you're QCing the data. You're making sure what you're looking at is comparable and it ties to the previous story you're talking about and where you're kind of already having some preconceived ideas of maybe where the play is going or how it's developing. And you're just getting to be in that space time and time and time and year after year. That's pretty unique. That's a pretty unique deal. Yeah.
It's a fun job. I enjoy it. Yeah.
How do you evaluate? It's a good, I mean, so how do you evaluate in a deal where they go, there's a lot of behind pipe pay. There's nothing producing, hasn't even been perforated, or maybe it's got a test in it somewhere. But they're like, man, this bench has really got something. We want to be paid out on that bench. Just in theory, what's the simple approach on even provide like how do you convert that into actual value in a deal?
Well, I mean, if it's like just behind pipe pay, I mean, just show the logs, show the offset tests, make it easily digestible, I will say, like into a slide or two. And so at the end of the day, I feel like almost everything I do gets conveyed into one kind of brief little PowerPoint that would be, the management presentation or the sim or the data room presentation. And then you also build out kind of a virtual data room of materials. And a lot of that is just keeping it very organized. Like basically, if you're on the buy side and you're evaluating this deal, what do I want to see that would make me lean in to think that's true and
Right.
and so to the extent that I can just pull down all of the scout tickets, the test data, put it on a map, have the logs ready to go, have it, the snippet of the behind pipe there. That's ideally, I mean, that's what you try to package it up and make it very easy so that, the evaluating teams aren't having to go dig up all that themselves.
Sure.
And they're not, missing something that like, if you didn't know that was there, then if I don't point it out to you, then, they may miss it on their own evaluations if they don't have time to kind of go through it themselves like that.
Cool. So I mean, you really save time, right? You're saving people that are interested in taking a look at things, have some capital where they can expand. They're in a position to do that. And you're really helping them and their technical team kind of speed things up, right? You're making sure that if unless they don't ask you, do they typically ask you like in the details, like in the data room, like are you constantly talking with operators who are interested and answering questions for them on behalf of the sellers and vice versa?
Yeah, that's huge part of the deal. It varies by deal, I would say. I would say like mineral deals don't often get a lot of questions. Operated deals for sure get a lot more questions. And yeah, I mean, just fielding any questions that would come from, interested parties, whether them be, operators or offset operators fishing for data sometimes, or but just you know how it is. So that it's basically, yeah, any questions would funnel through, the Detring team rather than going directly to the seller. If we can't answer it for some reason, maybe we'll reach out to the seller to see if they have any clarity there. But it also just varies widely across our clients. Sometimes you may have, a small mom and pop that they don't have the best records. Everything's maybe in a banker's box in their field
Yeah,
office, and we'll pull all the logs ourselves and make it easy, just LAS logs for people to use and build out the materials ourselves.
man.
Other times, though, they may have a real good understanding and have done a ton of geologic work. I'd say that's a lot more rare, but it does occur, and I like when those occur sometimes, and that they're able to pass over a Petra project or some grids and cross sections and all kinds of stuff, and you kind
You're
of
just
more
licking your
represent their
lips.
work. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
they know it better than you, I would say at that point, and so you're kind of learning the
Wow.
story from them and just kind of telling it. But
Yep. Dude, that's such a great kind of thing you got going on, man. It sounds like a great space, something that's absolutely needed. You're helping save time for buyers and sellers. You're help communicating, you're help transmitting this information and the confidence in it all. Like how many deals probably have gone sour just because something was said once in a meeting and it just turned the guy off and he totally misspoke. It was like one random little comment and it just unravels, right? And then you don't have anybody that's keeping those fires going, right? And keeping that commotion, keeping that confidence in it and that back and forth. So interesting stuff, man. So okay, are you ready to present this take on Oklahoma? Do you want to dive into this or what are your thoughts?
yeah. So I guess backstory here. Um, I've given kind of a similar talk to this a couple of times now, and maybe the first time was at APG MidCon back in like 2023, and it went over really well. I was kind of worried that it wasn't technical enough and if to fit in kind of APG's wheelhouse. I felt like, yeah, I was just kind of like I mentioned earlier, like a hard article with some good maps and just kind of more nuanced stuff that's not your typical kind of scoop merge stack activity. And then since I've given it a couple other times and kind of expanded the scope to Eagleford, Haynesville, Permian, et cetera. But then this
Right on.
one was just Oklahoma focused or mid-continent focused. I do I guess I should say that all the stats that you see and stuff are inclusive of kind of Western Anadarko and the Texas Panhandle as well. So those are being accounted for here. And so, to start off here, I think kind of the main trend I was trying to drive the point home on is really kind of Oklahoma activity or mid-continent activity has kind of come full circle at this point in time. And so what I've done here is you show kind of the main play areas. You got your Western Anadarko, mostly your Pennsylvanian sands, granite wash, things like that. Stack, mislime, merge, scoop, and then the Arkoma off to the far east. But what I've done is plotted in red there on the map is your average bottom hole location of all horizontals drilled for each year. And I thought this was kind of cool. I saw it as like a hurricane, or I thought of it kind of like a hurricane track almost, and thought it'd be a cool idea. And it worked out really well, actually. I was kind of worried that it might just like jump all over the place, but it really like migrated through time and kind of tells a good story. So in 2010, the epicenter of drilling in the mid-continent would be there in eastern Custer County. And we've kind of through time kind of migrated up north, particularly as the mislime took off. And then as it kind of fell off, you started kind of activity started shifting kind of south and east into the stack, merge, and scoop. And those were really our bread and butter plays of the mid-continent over the past few years. And then up until about 2021, 2022 is really when your Red Fork and your Cherokee activity starts to kick off. And so the average activity has just been shifting, further and further west. We've almost kind of gone full circle to where we were about, 16 years ago. All this kind of ties to the bottom left of the page too. And so that just average percentage of all of your wells spud in the mid-continent plotted, 0 to 100, and then where they fall within these various play outlines. And so back in 2010, Western Anadarko Basin was like 60% of all the horizontal wells being drilled. That was, before the Merrimack and the Woodford kind of took off too much. You still had Arkoma Woodford going on a fair bit over there. Gas prices were high. And then you see, mislime really takes off for about, 2012 to 2015. And then stack and scoop and merge become kind of the key areas of the past decade or so up until recently. And so Western Anadarko Basin, though, with the Cherokee activity really climbing again, starting about 2022, and now at about 40% of all of our wells being drilled are occurring out there. And so it is now, for the first time since about 2014, I think, the most active area in the state or in the region per se. And that's just kind of what's old is new again. Now, the Pennsylvanian intervals are coming back in vogue. There's still a lot of activity in the scoop and stack. You see the rig counts over there.
Yeah.
And so they still have a fair bit of rigs, but you've got 23 rigs in the Western Anadarko Basin, 13 in the stack, 16 in the scoop. And then just the other kind of cool thing is this also the first time happened since 2014 that the Pennsylvanian intervals, now that does account for a lot of formations there, but from 2025 to present are making up 40% of all of our targets. Whereas if you would have done this a few years ago, Miss and Woodford would be your dominant drivers there.
Right.
Other thing I show on the map here is just OCC unit application filings. So this would be almost like a pre-permit. It's like, the first step. And so you see those as the yellow on the map, and you see just how many of them are not only in the Western Anadarko, but deep stack and deep scoop, on the southwest side, kind of gas window of the play. That is becoming ever increasingly in vogue as well. And you'll see that kind of as a trend throughout here.
The Western Anadarko Basin curve, how it goes high and then, it makes the U shape, right? And like it's coming back. Is that the same formation on the left side of that curve coming back on the right side of the curve? Or is this like a new discovery in 2022 that's bringing the Western Anadarko back to life?
Yeah, so more the latter there in terms of the Cherokee and Red Fork have become the predominant targets out there. Back 2010 would have been a lot more kind of Cleveland, Tonkawa, and Granite Wash. So Granite Wash covers yeah.
Sandy stringers, right? That's all like sandy kind of.
Yep.
Wow.
Mostly, siliciclastic plays. It's if you were to go down to the Woodford out there, it'd be incredibly deep. And so yeah, most of the development is focused on kind of your shallower Pennsylvanian sands. I would say the play now that the Cherokee, there's kind of a couple plays all together. You've got Cherokee Shale and you've got Cherokee Sands, which would be your Red Fork, your Skinner, and then some other the new ones, Osborne and some of your other Des Moines sands. But Cherokee
Jeez.
Shale, I feel like is a true kind of shale play. And maybe some contribution there from some of the like stringers and embedded kind of silty stuff as well.
How much of this Penn stuff do you see correlate over to the Permian?
Honestly, I had given a couple talks a while back, and even that first one I gave in 2023 at APG MidCon was that I feel like Oklahoma maybe is it's maybe a little more mature than the Permian in terms of kind of things that have been tested, and so you have these operators really revisiting some of these conventional zones, but then I see a lot of similarity, I guess, between like the Red Fork play and like the Dean play, or a lot of your
Mm.
kind of Eastern Shelf Strawn plays, at the Joe Mill as well, as being a kind of sandy interval and more
Hmm.
conventional in nature. So I think those have become a lot more in vogue in the Permian of late. And certainly I think operators are going to continue to test some of that. The Harkey sand on the Delaware Basin, which is in your third bone carbonate sequence, is another kind of conventional target that's been thrown into the mix there as well as your other Bone Spring sands.
How does the Barnett stack up? The Barnett's like a lower Penn. It's like the.
Barnett, Upper Miss, it would be the equivalent of the Caney in Oklahoma, or the also the
Okay.
Fayetteville Shale over in Arkansas. And
Oh
so
wow.
honestly, the Permian Barnett and Woodford plays. I mean, if you showed me a type log of let's say just kind of really either the Delaware Woodford play or the kind of Midland western side of Midland play where you had the mistlime in between and I mean it looks identical. I mean you could show type logs across all of them and correlate it all the way up. It looks
Wow.
very similar, I would say.
Isn't that amazing? Wow.
Yeah, I've seen another guy compare the Cherokee play to the Wolfcamp D, and I,
Huh.
I I don't know if they're time equivalent or what there, but I've seen somebody make that correlation on LinkedIn, I believe.
Look pretty similar to you as well.
I mean, they have that high gamma, thin cyclothymic, if that's a word, cyclothem kind of high gamma shale character. So
Okay.
sort of, yeah. I mean, it doesn't look completely opposite, but
Oh, nice.
somewhat.
This is where you broke into each one of them a little bit more. I got you.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah. So you had that question. So as a Western Anadarko, kind of what was it like? And I only took this one back to 2016, but you
But
really see
clearly,
that
yeah.
that rise of the Cherokee coming
Yeah.
from really out of nowhere. Mewburn was really the company that pioneered this play, and nobody really followed them into it for a couple of years. Uh,
Wow.
but it's really taken off. Cleveland, Tonkawa, Oswego, less so of late, but Cleveland still gets activity. You still have operators chasing the Cleveland Sands. We've had some phenomenal Tonkawa results of late, and some really good Cottage Grove results of late also.
Wow.
And those were targeted a lot more heavily, maybe kind of 2010 timeframe out in the Western Anadarko.
They're going
Um,
horizontal in this stuff, or what's the.
oh yeah, 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 for sure.
So they're able to land mile laterals, 2 mile laterals. Did you hear recent the record was broken in the Permian? I think they said a 4 point something mile lateral. Have you heard that?
I haven't heard that, but I wouldn't doubt it. And so, I mean, that seems to be the trend everywhere. I think the
It's
longest
insane.
laterals are up there in Appalachia, and I think like EQT drilled one called the Long Well, a great name there. And I don't remember if it was 5 miles actually, maybe even longer than
Holy
that. So
cow. Wow.
yeah,
Yeah. That's amazing, man. They're able to see it, I guess in the seismic well enough to kind of get your attributes right and your inversions right. And you can just get the confidence that you have enough of that rock there and it's thick enough to land in it. And
for
it
sure.
stays consistent for that far. So it's pretty
Yeah.
amazing, man. What's the well count on this production? Do you have that curve?
In
How
terms
many
of
well like how many wells are making that curve right there?
That's a great question. I'd have to pull up the data. I want to say I may be off, but I want to say like Oklahoma averages like 1,000 to 1,500 wells a year. That sounds right. I may be off on that. I don't quote me on that, but it was yeah. It's not nearly as active as the Permian for that regard, but
Yeah.
yeah. I find it helpful to break it out as just a percentage, though, often to just kind of eliminate any kind of skew that could be, down drips of activity and kind of upticks, et cetera.
Okay.
Um, I guess, that would normalize back out to this one, though, if we then see that, of the percentage, where is the activity occurring? Um, so, but the other cool thing I would say in the stack, the Oswego had its run there for a while there, particularly Mock was drilling a lot of Oswego wells and kind of your oily northeast portion of the stack. Really cheap wells to drill. They don't frack them; they just acidize them. So they're really
Wow.
cheap. But they're drilling 2-3 mile laterals there.
Wow.
The Merrimack has been the predominant target in the stack for a long time, but the Woodford in particular, they're really kind of coming back in vogue, and a lot of that is driven by Devon. They have a JV with Dow Chemical, and they've kind of been drilling all around the extents of the old Canna field, which is kind of the thickest portion of the stack there.
Huh.
And
And they're
then
using they're JVing with Dow Chemical, so there's a potentially a new frac concoction that they're dreaming up there to make that Woodford release better on initial production, or what do you think that JV's all about? Dow Chemicals
uh,
is
yeah, I think it's more Dow needs the supply for whatever they need gas supply for whatever plants and downstream products they make. I guess is my read on it. I
okay.
don't know.
I don't know
Don't
enough
know a
about them,
ton
but
about it.
yeah,
um,
but Devon would be a good one to team up with. They sure drilled a lot of horizontal Woodford wells.
yeah, yeah, for sure. The in southern Oklahoma though, Miss and Woodford kind of predominant targets. Caney, which would be your Barnett equivalent. It's really one operator in particular drilling the Caney.
Mm.
Springer, phenomenal wells, but harder to kind of come by in terms of scale of inventory. But that Penn section really ramping up in recent years, and that's mostly the Osborne play, which would be a Cherokee equivalent kind of Red Fork play in the kind of merge scoop area with some really phenomenal results. And then you mentioned the record being broken in the Permian, but this is just taking all the wells in the mid-continent and plotting kind of average TVD, average measured depth, and average lateral length. Everything's getting deeper, longer, and that's even despite we're going after more of these shallower Pennsylvanian zones, but we're pushing, I would say, deeper into the strat column in the Western Anadarko Basin, still remaining in the pen, and then we're just pushing deeper out into the basin and drilling longer laterals pretty much everywhere. So operators getting a lot more efficient there.
Wow. Wild.
Yeah. This next slide, just Oklahoma in particular has had a lot of kind of change in terms of who operates within the region of late. And so I thought this was kind of an interesting stat, but back in 2020, what we're showing here in your main horizontal chart here would just be the percentage of horizontal wells being drilled by private companies versus public companies. And so back in 2020, 60% of your activity taking place in the mid-continent occurring from your public companies. But with a lot of, we say, let's say Continental went private. That's a big driver here, just given their huge footprint in Oklahoma.
Uh-huh.
But you've seen a lot of other operators kind of divest their mid-continent assets and it get gobbled up by more private operators. And so of late, I would say Oventive and Oventive bought sorry, Flywheel bought the Oventive package, and then they also bought the Conoco package, or Marathon's old footprint. And so they've become a premier operator. Validus has emerged after they sold their Eagleford stuff and have become a premier operator. So those are two big private companies that have taken kind of ownership in the activity in Oklahoma. But you still have a lot of familiar faces as well, I would say, and that you still have Continental. They've just swapped from public to private. You still have Mewburn, one of the largest private companies as well, still incredibly active. I think Continental and Mewburn both the most active operators in the Mid-Continent. Still have Devon and Sandridge around, and then Mock. A lot of familiar faces here, I guess, with people with ties to the Mid-Continent, whether it be the Flywheel team is mostly the old '89 team. Mock being a lot of Tom Ward's company who used to run Sandridge, and I thought it was kind of unique here. 80% of the activity occurring by private operators. I looked at the Permian just with all the consolidation in the Permian, and it's almost vice versa. Like
Wow.
80% of your activity in the Permian is occurring from public operators. So Pioneer or XTO, Diamondbacks, your large publics, all driving a lot of the activity down there.
Wow. Pretty interesting.
Yeah. These next two slides just kind of go through some of the activity in Oklahoma that I find interesting, either whether it be geologically interesting or kind of new and up and coming stuff, or just the kind of premise for this slide a couple years ago was just not your standard Merrimack and Woodford scoop and stack wells. So just what else is going on around the state. The Cherokee play, though, we've talked about becoming one of the most active plays. Really started kind of in Ellis County, and has since everybody's been pushing down to the south. You see the 10 rigs that are running there. We've got a lot of companies that have entered the play in the past few years. Generally, I'd say our results have gotten better through time also. As they've pushed further south, they're going deeper into the basin, getting a little higher pressure, and our well results have gotten a little better there. Down to the south of that, you've got a couple of operators that are still chasing, your conventional sands, like your Cleveland, your Tonkawa, Cottage Grove, and they've made some really excellent results there. I think just kind of using more modern frac designs. I mean, some of these wells coming on 1,000 barrels a day, just phenomenal stuff occurring in plays that you would think have been pretty picked over by this point.
Right.
The Red Fork play really started in kind of eastern Custer and then migrated up to Dewey, and now is kind of really expanded all across central Custer and even up into northwest Dewey. Got a couple of operators there, and this is a very channelized sand, kind of fluvial deltaic in nature, and so it's not like a repeatable mow it down. Like you can see the Cherokee, and it's just they've kind of mowed it down in a fairway and are really starting to kind of delineate the eastern extents. The Red Fork is a lot more pockets of activity, and you can have the sand in one section and then it'd be absent the next section over. So it's kind of a lot more of these kind of rifle shot opportunities that these operators are going after.
Wow. That's it. That's the interesting shape it makes, right? It's like wrenching off to the northeast as it goes out of the basin.
Yeah, I mean, I drew these shapes, so like I'm just kind of trying to circle the activity. There's a prominent channel that goes kind of northeast, southwest across Dewey, and then it just kind of dumps into Custer as it gets like deep into the basin there. And there's a couple. I'll show a map on it, at least how I have it mapped in a slide or two.
Cool.
Mock still drilling over in the Oswego over there. That's a property they acquired from Chesapeake, and they've drilled. I want to say I had a stat earlier that was like they had over 200 something wells between 2022 and 2024. They've drilled 60 since 2024. Remain having a rig over there, but very cheap wells, but just kind of maybe in the later stages of development there, and as kind of inventory continues to get drilled up. I mentioned the Canna field and Devon's activity there in the stack. You can see all of those new Woodford wells basically just pretty much lining the perimeter of the old Canna field where it was drilled at maybe 10 wells a section back in early 2010s.
Wow.
And then really the deep stack gas window, at the time of making this map about a month ago, it had to be probably one of the first times this has occurred of late that you had 12 rigs currently running in the region, and none were in the stack well window. They're all chasing deep stack gas. And a lot of people, they talk, when talking gas, we're thinking Haynesville and Marcellus. But I mean, some of these well results, just absolute monsters coming on at 30 million a day. There's some good
Wow.
gas to be had in the stack window or stack gas window. And I think it's just
30
unloved.
million a day.
Yeah, there's some
30. million.
That'd
Holy
probably be a good
smoke.
3 mile well that some of the Continental and Validus and others are putting down over there. And then the last call out here, just a great well in the middle of Oklahoma City. It was drilled last year or just came online this year. It's a Hunton well on the east side of Oklahoma City. Some good urban drilling there still. And this well's
Sweet.
7,500 foot laterals made 142 MBO in 4 months. I mean, this thing's averaging over 1,000 barrels a day. I mean, it's still some good other areas of the state to find good oil.
The hunting, man, that's that old stuff. That's like Devonian or something, ain't it?
Yeah, it'd be below the Woodford. So Waylu, right there on the kind of west side of Oklahoma County, there on the west side of Oklahoma City. That's the West Edmond Hunt and Lime unit.
Yeah.
A lot of horizontal activity there, but yeah, still good carbonate stuff. And then even further shallower, there's a ton of hunting production out in the Seminole Field and other areas of the state.
Yeah. Man. So when you look at that map, or this is even a
Yeah,
good one, we can switch
yeah, we
to
can go to that one too.
yeah. When you're drawing those boundaries between the purples, the blues, and like the red, where they're all coming together, they actually overlap. You're just showing that that the activities kind of cut off. You're drawing kind of cut off on activity lines.
Yeah, I mean, it's subjective, I would say, to some degree there of just the various play areas of Oklahoma. I mean, I'm not going to fight anybody if somebody says, "Hey, the merge is actually, only around the Grady Canadian line." I don't know. This is just how I would kind of define,
Okay.
core stack, core scoop. Scoop, even I'm kind of just lumping in, Ardmore and Marietta and just kind of all of southern Oklahoma in general, although it gets, very structurally complex down there. Um, so yeah, that just kind of how I would see it. I don't think there's any, definitive answer there. Like Hawks Bar, that's going to just refer to, your Pennsylvanian sands and the Hawks Bar group. Those are mostly Marchand and Medrano that operators are still chasing out there.
Hmm.
And so it's not, you know, set in stone that how these outlines are drawn.
Which
Um,
one's outperform? Which one's the best performer on this screen? Looks like that scoop in the
so
center.
yeah, Scoop I think generally has some of the best oil wells in the mid-continent, and some of them, I mean, I'd say the most prolific in the country to some degree. So I'd say, just kind of working around the map here. The Osborne play on the Grady McLean County line. It's a play that Staghorn, a little private equity backed operator out of Tulsa, really phenomenal geologists that work there. They've done quite a number of cool things, but they kind of pioneered this play targeting the Osborne sand. And now you've seen Continental and quite a few other operators come in around them. Basically drilling in and around these vertical fields, kind of like a similar concept to like the Red Fork play, or I kind of compared it to the Dean play in Dawson County too. But I mean, this recent Continental well is their first Osborne well they drilled. It's made 450 MBO and about a
Yeah.
BCF in 11 months. That's on pace to be a top 3 well in Oklahoma over the past few years.
I mean,
So
so what's your
yeah,
cutoff? What I want to get your take on this. You look at this all the time. What do you think your like what someone would call tier one, tier two? What's your breaking point on barrels right now? If you got a well that's going to do 12 months of production, what's your cutoff on, what tier one versus tier two?
I mean, that's all relative, I would say, to a couple of things, whether it be, your DNC cost and if we're just talking oil wells and like say the Permian or something, I want to see them at least doing 200 MBO in 12 months, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in Oklahoma, we got a lot more gas, I would say, with it. So, a lot of these wells will make, significant amount of gas too. So you got to factor that in. And then, I mean, some of the other areas of the Permian, let's think like Northwest Shelf, like the Yeso wells. I mean, really cheap to drill those at like maybe 4,000 feet. And I mean,
Right.
I think your DNC costs can get down to sub 5 million maybe, and your cutoff would shift way down on that end. I mean, you could
Yeah,
definitely
as
probably
far
make
as
some
like,
money with
yeah,
with less total MBO. So
sure. Yeah, but I like your number, 200 MB. A 200 MBO will definitely make, for oil production, that's a good well. I think that I agree with that as a cutoff. Just gets the ball really moving to make a
Yeah,
discovery, to really get something going.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, so on this slide, the Hawks bar activity kind of starting in the top left. Really, mostly it's kind of Staghorn, Kaiser Francis, some other kind of smaller operators still chasing these conventional sands. That the basin gets incredibly deep out there, so operators kind of opt to go for more of the shallow stuff.
Yeah.
Validus actually had drilled a Hawks bar well. It's kind of outside of the area here. It'd be in kind of stack proper in one of their recent stack pads. And they brought on, I think a Woodford, or maybe two miss wells and a Woodford, and then also this Hawks bar well. And it is the strongest oil producer of the three or four wells they brought online. I think it's made about 128 MBO in about 9 months or so.
Nice.
Very little gas associated with it, though. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, we'll see if other operators can kind of find some more, not quite behind pay, but uphole zones to, add inventory to. Um, Continental's been incredibly active in this deep merge kind of scoop area. They those are mostly Woodford wells are drilling. They're drilling 3 miles in most of those cases, and they're drilling them kind of diagonally along strike, and they hold 6 sections at a time. They basically like permit like three lay down 1280s and then drill across it. And so some
Wow.
funny land grabbing stuff they got going on there, but you got to respect it. Um, they've been doing some refracts. Refracts are a big thing, and the Eagleford and the Bakken and Haynesville even haven't seen as much of it in some of the other basins. I think Oklahoma probably has a lot of opportunity for that, just given the kind of legacy nature of a lot of these horizontals.
Yeah.
But they have tested some there. We touched on the Osborne play, really fine results there. And then moving down to Chauveltum, I mean, I think Chauveltum's probably the most prolific area of lower 48. I'd put a lot of these wells on par with any of your best Delaware Basin wells.
Wow.
This is that's Oklahoma's only giant field in terms of had already cumed more than 1 billion barrels before we really started drilling
It's the only
horizontally in
one,
it.
huh?
Yeah, and we had to kind of cheat a little bit. I'm an Okie, and so it's actually three fields. You've got the Sholem field, the Velma field, and the Tatum's field, and they combined them to make the Chauveltum field.
The Chauveltum. I was wondering what the heck that's supposed to be. That
Yeah,
makes more sense. And those three fields cumed 1 billion barrels.
it is an absolutely crazy structural high. I think Molly Turco has had some like maybe her PhD dissertation or something had some like seismic lines through it. Should check it out.
Wow.
It's very faulted and structurally complex, but it's really cool. But all those green wells there have been drilled since 2022. So Continental in particular has been mowing it down kind of after the initial couple good results came in. They've really and they've been wine
Wow.
racking Mississippian Sycamore and Woodford in there.
Right on.
So
I'm definitely going to hit up Turco about that. I definitely want to
yeah,
see what that's about. Big cracks will make a lot of fluid. That seems pretty consistent around the world.
for sure. Yeah, so that play. I mean, Chauveltum's pretty small locally there in terms of aerial extent, and it's pretty heavily drilled at this point. So Continental's
Yeah.
kind of looking elsewhere at some of the other sub basins. You got other operators chasing Sycamore out in the kind of northwest side of the Ardmore Basin. Continental's had some real good success. They call that the Loco Field down south of Chauveltum, and they drilled these wells kind of northwest, southeast along strike, like kind of with the grain of the kind of structure there. And then my favorite basin I'll call out here, the Marietta Basin. We talked about it on the last show a little bit, but super deep, like 17,000 foot TVD and really oily.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
mostly Exxon down there. They've kind of have the entire basin locked up. But there's a couple, Kaiser Francis has some positions that they've drilled some good wells. And we've got a new operator testing the first well on the Texas side of the play. So really
Wow.
some interesting stuff going there. Um,
Wow.
it's always baffled me how it's so deep and so oily comparatively to like at 17,000 foot deep in the Anadarko Basin, you're going to be in the gas window. It for
That's
sure,
right.
in the Arkoma Basin, you'd be, out of the the Woodford already, but it's going to be straight gas there too. So it's weird. There's some weird, I think, kind of basement heat flow anomaly that's associated with the
Yep.
Wichita Mountains, but
You're still
we could
going
go
with the
off a
heat
whole
flow
tangent.
thing.
I like it, man. I like it.
That's that's what we talked about that last time, the first show, man.
Yeah,
That's right. You
yeah.
mentioned that, and it's like, yeah, heat flow is going to be an interesting way to control the reason why the kerogen in that rock. Now, on those other basins you were talking about, that's the same age rock, or is that different age rock that's producing at that
Oh
uh
yeah, yeah.
same
We're
age
talking about
rock?
the Woodford and all of the above here. So it's I think the other example or the other kind of theory would just be like, okay, it may be that deep today, but where do these other basins stand, throughout time and their thermal maturity history of like, were they deeper and have been kind of exhumed to some degree? I mean, I think there's definitely some of that going on in the Arkoma, that it was buried deep and has um,
It's
rebounded
about the
more. Yeah.
To me, it's about the water. It's about the hydrogen and the source of water while the kerogen was actually making liquid oil. So I feel like there's just a different source of the wet component in this part of the Woodford for some reason. I would love to see chemical differences in the rock and see if there's any geochemical anomalies between the two Woodfords. And then obviously the brine, you can look at the geochemical anomalies in the brine component of both of those formations in two different spots, one very gassy, one very oily. I mean, there's something going on with the way the kerogen's being hydrogenated. It's not making dry gas, it's making liquid oil. So it's both of them are hydrogenated. Both of them are making commercial deposits of hydrocarbons, right? And but one of them is preferably making, maybe it's a kerogen thing. Maybe there's a different type of kerogen. But there's definitely been major hydrogenation. It's what's sourcing that, and it's not just heat. The heat is grandpa's way of thinking about what's going on. The it's the water component. It's what was happening in the brine component at the time these reservoirs were putting themselves together. I'd also do uranium osmium dates, because if it's Woodford, like we have uranium osmium dates in the Permian, the oil's the same age as the rock. So what's going on there? That at the time of deposition and the time of lithification, there is enough heat, enough pressure, and certainly enough brine to make a hydrocarbon reaction, right? The hydrogenation of the kerogen. So, what the heck's going on with that? I would love to see some radium osmium dates on it and see some geochemical on it. And there's going to be a difference. There's definitely going to be an elemental difference.
Yeah, there's smarter people than myself that should study it. I don't really know. I just think it's intriguing in terms of
Very.
how deep it is compared to, we're only talking 20, 30 miles away to hit the Ardmore Basin and hit
Wow.
Chauveltum and stuff. It's not too far,
Right.
just a couple counties
Right.
over. So,
Wow.
um, so yeah, that
Fascinating.
covers this slide. I'd say we could hit most of the high notes here. Next slide or two, I kind of do kind of a deeper dive on the Cherokee play and then the Red Fork play after this. But here I'm just kind of showing a Cherokee thickness map. Should have
Okay.
probably included a type log here for you, but this talk was given to a kind of a non-technical audience to some degree, so I was trying to keep it simple for them. But really, the play, like I mentioned earlier, started up in Ellis County and is really kind of shifting south and east. You see all the rigs, particularly in Roger Mills and Custer County, and then I have the wells colored by status here. So black would be kind of you're already producing wells, and then permits in green and wells in progress, either duck or
Okay.
drilling, et cetera, in blue. So a lot more results kind of to come of late, in the kind of southern extent of the play. And activity just kind of continues to push south and east. I think the question in a lot of people's minds in Oklahoma is how far can it continue to go to the south and east? It certainly looks similar on logs as you move to the east. And I'll touch on it in a slide or two. But some of the activity, the first two tests out, kind of in, off the map here are there's rumblings that they haven't been as great, I guess. And so we'll
Mm-hmm.
see, are those kind of flukes, and will people kind of find the limit there? I think what's become clear though in the play is that overpressure has become a key driver of performance. And so as we've moved south, we're getting deeper into the basin. We have a structure map on the upper right there, a little inset map, and we're getting deeper as we go to the south. And then I also included just kind of your peak gas rate associated with any of these new wells that have come online. And I think the main takeaway of the trend here is that, as we get further south and deeper into the basin, we start making more gas. And so not only is it thermally more mature, but you're getting that gas cut to really help, deliver your hydrocarbons, help that deliverability. And so just on a BOE perspective, our wells are getting better through time. So I
Yeah, I
took
see
this
that.
just, yeah, average 2 mile Cherokee well. So I just limited the data set to 2 mile wells. Most of them are 2 miles in length. There's some 3 milers out there. And then just kind of bucketed them through time of your average performance. And so now some of that, I'm showing it on cumulative production in the first 15 months or so on an MBOE basis, and that'd be 6 to 1. So that increased gas cut certainly helping that. Um, but I made this chart just on my own curiosity as well. If you just do it on cumulative oil, and it displays very similarly, that our wells are getting better through time. And so I think really the overpressure nature is, determined or has been determined to be a key driver of performance here. And that's why activity is pushing deeper into the basin.
How thick is that thick? The red areas of this
It
map.
is a pretty thin reservoir as a whole, and so yeah, you picked up on that. I don't have my contour labels on here. I often do that in a lot of my slides because it just helps keep it clean. I think sometimes
Sure.
when you're, but I'd say in its thickest portion, like I don't know if you can see my cursor at all, but
Yeah, I can.
right
I could.
there, okay,
Yeah.
like maybe 80 foot thick of like
Oh,
from the top of the shale
wow.
to the base of the shale. And then maybe in your like greens and blues up here, like 30 to 40 foot thick.
Whoa.
The thing is I do think there's some contribution from some of the sands above, and I have this mapped on just kind of your two main hot shales. They'll call them the Excello shale, kind of locally referred to in Oklahoma, but there's two more of them right above it as well. And so
Huh.
you could kind of choose, how do you want to make this map? Do you want to include all four of the hot shales? And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, I think most operators are thinking about it in this way, but I think they're probably getting contribution for sure from some of these other hot shales or even conventional-esque zones above and below, or mostly below. And then, yeah,
So
go ahead. Sorry.
if you had a log thrown up here and you had the 80-foot section, what you're saying that there'd be a high gamma ray at the top and then it kind of gets chattery and then it goes high gamma ray at the bottom?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I could pull up a log for you if you want me to.
So is it
Um,
actually a black shale throughout the whole thickness of that, or is it like like a silty, sandy package bound by two black shales?
I would say, yeah, I mean, it's going to certainly be siltier in between, but your two hot shales for sure. You see, high gamma ray, high resistivity associated with it. Great deflection in your porosity logs too, not just in your neutron log, like meaning it's clay rich, but density log deflects as well.
Hmm.
And then it just kind of looks, you know, siltier in between. I would say it doesn't look as attractive between those two. Uh, and I mean, thinking of it in that way, like so the other things, I guess there's been a lot of studies in the past operators have done in terms of taking core of this shale. I mean, it's high TOC. We're talking like 6% on these two hot shales, and it's like right in the volatile oil window in terms of thermal maturity. So um,
Interesting.
it may not be that thick, and I think it's kind of a unique play as a concept if we start thinking about other thin zones around the lower 48, if
Yeah.
not just the Anadarko Basin. But our well densities per mile
Wow.
here, we're pretty much only drilling 2 wells per mile. You've got a couple of units down here that people have tested 3 wells per mile, and I think there's maybe one in kind of the core of the play somewhere
And
throughout here.
where would you say those things are landed? Like right in the middle of these two hot stringers or towards the top, the
Yeah.
bottom?
Yeah. I mean, from what I've observed, that's pretty much the case. It's kind of right in between the middle. I
Wow.
do a lot of kind of like landing analysis where, I have my map structure grids and then kind of run the surveys through an algorithm that'll plot, where they are in relative to the surface. And I've seen a few that, maybe above and maybe even going after some of those hot shales above and below or above.
Wow.
Some of them maybe go below, I think, and then you got like the Peru sand or the Skinner sand right beneath that may, provide some contribution there. But I think most of
Wow.
them going straight for the in between the two shales.
Man, I'd love to see some rocky valve paralysis between the bottom and like if there's four of them, what does that look like in the rocky valve with that high TOC stuff and where you could start chasing some of that hydrogenation story in that. You'll see it in the S1, S2
Yeah.
data if it's good data. The other thing I'm curious about are the wells are getting better and how much more water's being used in the frac, do you know?
That's a good question. I don't think, I mean, most of this has all kind of occurred of late, really since maybe 2019, I think was the first well Mewburn drilled and that
Okay.
they really didn't ramp up activity till kind of 2020, 2021. So most of it's all modern frac designs. You have seen some operators, I mean, start pumping more sand, but I don't think that it's, not like the Haynesville or something where people are really ratcheting up the sand and the water. So I think that they're probably, sticking to maybe just firing off the hip here, probably, 1,500 to 2,000 pounds per foot, probably 50 barrels fluid per foot. I'd have to go check that. And I don't think that's changed too much through time, but I could do some easy digging on that.
The curve in that production over time, what's the top
Yeah.
one? What's that jagged top one doing? What's
Yeah,
that?
so that would be so this would be 2025. No, 2020. Yeah, that'd be 2025. So one nuance to making this plot like this is, as you get further out in this, especially 2025, right? Our well result count, our in basically starts, dropping off. And so
Sure,
then
got it.
it's gonna quickly, be one or two wells influencing that.
Well,
Um,
really outperforming. It's really
yeah,
stepping away though, so that's great to see.
yeah. So yeah, a little bit
And
of nuance there. Good data digging on your own part there. Well, hey, what's going on there? And it's just data quality.
makes sense. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's pretty fascinating. So you got you got an interesting thickness map. You're calling it the Cherokee Shale thickness map, but it's really the bottom two high gamma shale stringers that man are clear as day and they're consistent and you can land a horizontal in between them and they got it sounds like packed with kerogen. So sounds like
yeah,
a very interesting target. And how about the north south stuff? I've just noticed a lot of that north south kind of drilling. I mean, some people you were mentioning they were going more along strike and things like that, but this is just totally dominant north south. No one has thought
yeah.
let's rotate this thing. That's because they're crossing fractures. You're increasing your probability of crossing fractures drilling north south in Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean it's just kind of the two that area people drilling kind of more along strike northwest southeast. That's a lot more to do with as you get into kind of southern Oklahoma and the kind of ridge tectonics, the strike slip component, the structural complexity is a lot more down there. Whereas, in this part of Western Anadarko Basin, it's generally, down to the south, not nearly as faulted as your Scoop area. And then, yeah, you're just,
Okay.
wanting to drill kind of, perpendicular to max stress and pretty much most of your
Right.
wells in Oklahoma will go north south. It's really outside of, a few nuanced things like the Chauveltum stuff and the Scoop stuff that's very structurally complex, and they drill along that kind of structural grain. But also maybe a good segue into the next slide, and that in the Red Fork play, very channelized. You'll see a lot of operators, particularly on this Dewey trend, that were chasing the
What
channel kind of northeast
the
southwest. So
what in the
um,
world is this pattern?
Yeah. I mean, there's some liberty here in my hand contouring. So,
If you're like me, it's easy to get through the day without thinking much about hydration until you start feeling tired or run down. The truth is, hydration is about more than just drinking water. Your body also needs electrolytes to help maintain fluid balance, along with nutrients that support normal muscle and cognitive function. That's where Resonate H2O comes in. It's a premium hydration mix with electrolytes, essential amino acids, and thoughtfully selected ingredients that help support hydration, focus, and everyday performance. There are no added sugars, and it's designed for anyone who wants to stay hydrated, whether you're working, training, traveling, or just trying to keep up with a busy day. If you're looking for a better way to hydrate, head over to resonateh2o.com and check them out. And while you're there, use the promo code PODCAST to save on your first order. This episode is proudly sponsored by Mandrill Energy Solutions. In today's demanding energy industry, having the right people and the right partner makes all the difference. Mandrill Energy Solutions provides tailored staffing, personnel, and equipment solutions specializing in solids control, experienced mud technicians, environmental cleanup services. Their team works closely with every client to understand their unique needs and deliver solutions that keep operations running safely, efficiently, and on schedule. Learn more at mandrillenergysolutions.com or through their LinkedIn page. Mandrill Energy Solutions, delivering the people, expertise, and solutions that power your success.
In terms of this play, I think I may have even mentioned it kind of back on the first show back in 2019, but this play really kicked off here in the Thomas Field, and I included my Red Fork vertical wells on the map here just to kind of show that what kind of the idea here was, and really I think it was Excalibur who kicked this off, but then Unit kind of they bought an Excalibur and started mowing it down here in the Thomas Field. But they had found that it's just a very oily pocket of the formation here. It's a conventional reservoir. It had kind of a gas cap up dip to the north here, and they kind of stayed away from that and just stayed on the down dip oil leg of the kind of sand body, for lack of a better word here. And they really had some great success there. And I remember, I was in charge of offset activity at Tapstone, and we operated kind of right through here in Dewey County. Whoops. And I told our COO and kind of our Tuesday morning meeting, I was like, hey, yeah, Excalibur just drilled a well, came on over 1,000 barrels a day in the Red Fork, and he about fell out of his chair. He was like, what? And
Wow, very strange.
so that got a lot of people looking at the Red Fork, and then so it quickly moved to this channel that goes through Dewey County, and you can see it was kind of defined vertically, and operators started chasing it, and really same thing, following these oily trends and making really good wells, and it's just they don't offer maybe the huge like scale and repeatability factor that like
Right.
Devon or Oventive or any of the companies that were in Oklahoma at the time were really going after. So it was mostly your smaller privates. And then Mewburn they had been poking around in the Cherokee further off to the west. Cherokee Group and consists of the Red Fork as well. They tested some Skinner sand wells also, but they stepped off into Custer County here, had some phenomenal results. And then we've just seen a lot of other people kind of expand this play into kind of other sand bodies. It's hard to map these things. Like you need a lot of 0 points and to get stuff from all linking up. So I mean, is this sand body connected to this sand body? That's a great question. I would say it's tough.
Yeah.
And I'd even say that there's multiple sands in the Red Fork. I'm kind of doing just like a net sand calculation with a gamma ray cutoff. But I think it's more kind of upper Red Fork sand up here, and then kind of lower and middle Red Fork sands down to the south. But then
Do they
of late we've had it. Go ahead.
Do they report gravity on their oil production in Oklahoma?
They do. I should know that offhand, but I don't. I mean, most of our stuff's pretty light oil. But I mean, I'm just offhand would be guessing, 40-ish.
Right.
Maybe low 50s, but that's probably too high.
Wow. Yeah, that's like freaking paint thinner, man.
Yeah.
Wow. It would be interesting if you did, and it was actually the hard part is like, is it just kind of like, I don't know how they get that data? Are they actually measuring the API? Are they just going off of like merged tanks, and the sales tickets on their API? But it could be a crude way to kind of start maybe clustering that some of these are actually connected, and then which ones might not be, because maybe you see it in the API data.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to approach it. I'd be curious to do that. I could make an easy map on, just a bubble map of API gravity on these, and kind of see.
Sweet.
My suspicion would be that it's lighter gravity down to the south of just gets deeper and more thermally mature, even though this is a sand play. But that would just be my suspicion right up front. But it'd be curious to see, like you're mentioning, does this sand body and this sand body, or like, do these differ widely? And that'd be an interesting way to tell that, I think.
Yeah, I would love to check that map out. It just even doing like the very obvious one off there into the right side where they're doing the bigger development there you're talking about, and seeing
Yeah.
if that thing itself has zoning in higher gravity clustering in some parts of that, and then as it's getting away and towards the edges, do you see higher gravity? And then what does it cluster as an average versus the next obvious cluster of data? And does it also have its own kind of halo effect of this API story? And then as an average, is it a similar average to the other cluster, or is it totally different? And then it'd be fascinating to see that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna have to check that out. I have another map a few slides from now that kind of shows on a GOR basis, and I don't
Oh,
really
cool.
highlight particularly this play where it kicked off, kind of what people were keying in on there. Um, but that covers the Red Fork kind of activity there. This is kind of the same frame, and we're thinking about. Oh, and I do have a type log here, although it's the Cherokee Shale is kind of covered up here. But some of the other activity that's ongoing in the Western Anadarko, you got a number of benches that have long been targeted. So Tonkawa Sand, Cottage Grove, Cleveland, Marmaton, Oswego, and then really the activity today would be Cherokee, Skinner, and Red Fork. You do have another hot shale down below, the 13 Fingers, that's kind of long been contemplated as another resource play, but has not really seen any activity. And then, so just to call out some of the activity, though, that's still ongoing. I mean, it may be hard to see on your screen, but all the wells on the map are here. So it's a very mature area, a lot of wells across a lot of different zones. And then I try to color, each respective zone, like Cleveland wells in green. You see a good trend here, good sand trend down here, and then Tonkawa in blue. But there's been some really good ones. Sanguine, they kicked off this Tonkawa play that's kind of drilling around an old well that um, I don't know what the backstory on it was, but I mean, when you pull up the log on the offset log that they targeted, you're like, yeah, why was that not drilled? It was a great looking sand section, and
Wow.
it just made 500,000 barrels and 2 BCF, and they've had a number of wells offset that in recent years. Sanguine's a small company out of Tulsa, do some great work. Charter Oak, another small mid-continent operator, they've started playing around in the Cottage Grove down here. Really some good results. I mean, 200 MBO, quarter of a BCF in the first 13 months. I mean, they've had some good results there. And we've even seen, a big public company like Mock, they permitted a Cottage Grove well down here. So even it's not just the small guys still looking for needles in the haystack. The bigger guys are starting to take wind of this. Um,
Pretty wild curve there. The resistivity is kind of picking up your kind of maybe like a gross representation of pay. Is that kind of accurate?
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
looking.
yeah. I mean, if so, I think I probably have I have all of these scaled accordingly, like so they all match in terms of overall thickness. But there's a lot of dead shale in between here that I've cropped out, so just kind of focused on the pay zone of each of these.
Hmm.
But and in no one log of the Western Anadarko are you going to get this sort of stacked pay, right? Like you have maybe one or two of these zones that overlap, but they're channelized sands or sand bodies, or like the Oswego's a reef. It's rare to get that many things to
It's a
line up.
reef. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, you can see that resistivity kick and then the porosity
Yeah.
kicks. I think I have it shaded maybe greater than 5% on some of these.
Okay.
So, Tonkawa, Cottage Grove, Cleveland, Marmonton, all conventional sands that produce both vertically and then now horizontally as well. Skinner and Red Fork produce vertically and then now horizontally as well. Cherokee Shale, whoops. Yeah. I should have. I'll have to send you a snagit of just what it looks like because I know you're curious, and it is thin, and it's just hard to see behind the cover of the label
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Um,
Man, very cool. And
yeah.
so what's the Permian basin or the Permian age rock story in this basin? Is it just absent, just not productive?
No, it's productive. It's just shallower even, and so if you think back to like the mid-continent as a whole, there was a phenomenal presentation that I think his name is like John McLeod or something like that. He put it out on APG data pages, and it's maybe a 2010 era presentation, but he had it broken like pie charts of production from each of the various time slices across the mid-continent. Permian was actually the largest of the time slices, but we're talking all your old shallow
I
conventional
got you.
fields like the brown dolomite, which would be Wolfcamp and Age.
The brown
Um,
dolomite. Wow.
yeah, I think even your Hugoton stuff, a lot of that's Permian and Age. I mean, obviously a phenomenal play. That would be a little bit off the map here in Kansas and Oklahoma
I got you.
Panhandle. But
I got you. Yeah, I was just curious. Don't remember that story, but I definitely remember working this stuff, kind of Cherokee platform. We had some acreage, previous company, and I remember, yeah, these names, man, and trying to figure out what the heck is the oil doing and where's it going and Red Fork and all that stuff. I don't remember 13 Fingers. That's a new one to me, but all the rest of them I definitely remember seeing.
yeah, I don't know if it could correlate back up on the shelf there on the Cherokee platform. I guess, and you mentioned Cherokee platform. I guess that kind of you think about the surface geology of Oklahoma, like as you move from east to west, we're mostly Pennsylvanian at the surface, so there'd be no Permian up until about kind of Oklahoma
Mm,
City area, and you have Permian at the surface. And then as you go further west, then have some chance for that Permian stuff to be down there to get drilled. So
wow.
um, this slide, it'd be kind of as we think about those plays that have been ongoing in kind of Western Anadarko, the Cherokee and the Red Fork type stuff has been pushing towards the east, and so the Osborne's really been the first one there. But this Thomas Field I showed earlier where that Red Fork play started, and you can see where they were keying in on those GOR, that low GOR high oil cut area here. And then the Osborne play kind of took the same approach. They kind of keyed in on this oily portion of the Osborne verticals, and then now people are kind of drilling all around it. So we shall see, how these wells in progress are going to turn out. So
Yeah.
they're kind of off the beaten path, whereas these other ones that were really successful were right in the middle of the conventional fields that were drilled vertically first. Um, and then I mentioned, some of the other kind of Eastern Cherokee stuff. So Caddo County, this would all be stack and scoop and merge over on the east side of the map here. And then there's been a couple of tests of the Cherokee from Novo and Devon Cotera. Those are those ones that maybe the rumblings are saying they're not that great. I think time will tell. I'm not ready to give up on the Eastern Cherokee yet. But you have a lot of other operators pushing Red Fork development also kind of out into the eastern portions of the state. So I think there's a lot of potential in the Penn section across a lot of this region. That's just really the Springer or the Miss and the Woodford have been the predominant focus of this portion of Oklahoma. And as the Pennsylvania section has become successful again in the Western Anadarko, we're starting to see operators kind of chase that around in other portions of the state. I mentioned that Validus well, they drilled a Hawkspar well, 2 Miss, 1 Woodford wells also on the pad, 128 MBO in 10 months. So probably not going to meet our cutoff of that 200 MBO. Good well, but I don't know, it might make some money, and it's right there in kind of the heart of the stack. So as an interesting test. And then, yeah, if you want to see the Osborne kind of sand. This is a log from kind of right there in the heart where
Mm-hmm.
Staghorn kicked off the play. Good looking sand here. I'm hesitant to not call this pay too. I mean, it's kind of a little muddier up here on the gamma ray, but good resistivity, still some decent porosity. And so, maybe they're getting contribution. That'd be a 100 something foot section right here if you put the top all the way up here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So some interesting stuff going on there. And then that just brings it to my last slide. So, oops. You know, time is a flat circle. That's kind of where we kicked off with. What's old is new again. Western Anadarko has reemerged as the most active play. The Pennsylvania intervals have become the most active section in terms of horizontal activity focused over the last few years, and neither of those things had occurred since 2014. It's ironic that despite targeting more of these shallow Pennsylvanian sections, that we're still drilling deeper and longer than ever before. And then just renewed interest in the mid-continent has spurred numerous transactions that's kind of changed that landscape of who operates in the region. But yet, despite that, and that's why I included the Leo kind of pointing that he's like, I recognize that guy. It's still mostly the same teams. They all have kind of long ties to the mid-continent, and so still much of the same decision makers driving activity within the region. It's dominated by private companies now, though, and that's just much different than what we see in the Permian. It's almost the complete inverse of what we see in the Permian, with about 20% of activity in the Permian being done by private operators. And then I just think that there's the future's bright. I love the mid-continent, just given I'm from Oklahoma and started my career out there. But I think it provides maybe the most variety of plays in terms of operators doing different things all over the place, and then operators then kind of take those learnings and take it elsewhere to the Permian per se. Like you look at Marathon or Continental or even Mewburn now, all drilling kind of Woodford Barnett stuff, and that's really taken off on both the Delaware and Permian side, or Midland side of the basin. And so I think there's just a lot of new stuff still on the come. It's not a played out basin. It's the basin that has 9 lives, to steal a quote from my one of my coworkers. And I just don't think there's any other region of the country that has as much variety of play type and across the full hydrocarbon mix. I mean, that's the other thing I think that Oklahoma provides, is that you go from oil window to gas window. The Eagle Ford does that, but the Permian basins are pretty. There's a lot of gas in both of them, but they're pretty oil heavy, and so you really have that optionality and kind of exposure across kind of the full commodity stream there in Oklahoma. And operators kind of pick and choose. They want to drill more gas wells and bring them online right before winter, or you can kind of play the commodity cycle depending on how your acreage position is set out. So yeah, thanks for letting me do that.
Pretty legit, man. And we're good to publish the video on this, or just the audio? What do you think?
Yeah, you can do the video. I mean, I'm not worried about that. You're talking about the slides themselves. They're out there on LinkedIn, and I'll send them to anybody that wants.
Right on.
So there's no proprietary info there.
Right. Yeah, you're just like you said, you're just trying to make sense of the complexity, help clarify things, and put boundaries on stuff. And yeah, it's pretty fascinating to see the progression of what's going on there and like what they're chasing. You have a similar one you said for the Eagleford, similar one for the Permian?
Yeah. I've done. I mean, a couple of these talks over the past couple of years or so, a couple of different geologic societies, and so yeah, I did one Gulf Coast focus for GeoGulf last year. And then I got asked to kind of do one at Super Doug, and they wanted me to do Permian, and so kind of have those covered. And at various geologic societies, I think the last one I did was North Texas, up in Wichita Falls. I'd never been to Wichita Falls. A great society they had there. I appreciate them having me out.
Heck yeah. You could
covered
stop
all of
sharing
them.
your screen.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let me do that.
Right on.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, and send you any of those if you want to take a look at them as well. I think I put all of those on LinkedIn too.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Maybe we can tap in a month from now or whatever and do another catch up, but do like the Eagleford and then another month and do the Permian or, I would love to keep going on this. That would be, it's just really cool information and there's a lot there. So why not have another media to get it out and yeah, talk about it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I appreciate it. I mean, um, a lot of work goes into it. I'm very particular about how my slides and maps look, and so I spend a lot of time, probably more than I should, making these things. And so, yeah, I'm not satisfied by just going and giving the talk and then nobody sees it again. So if anybody wants to, ask for the slides, I'm always happy to share them just because I put a lot of time into them. And so, yeah, appreciate the opportunity to kind of talk about it some more and get it some more eyeballs, I guess, my eyeballs on it.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome. I definitely would like to keep going with it then, because it's good for you, but it's also good for us. And then maybe this next one we can do a little bit more up front and kind of collab on some ideas on some of the slides, and then you can throw some of the gravity on there, or you could, if you got actual rock eval and TOC data between a couple of wells that one did really good, the other one didn't, and maybe we can compare some stuff. Anything like that can pop out of that. So I'm definitely down, man. I appreciate the work you did.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for having me, Troy. I'm a longtime fan of the show and glad you're up and running with it again. And hope all is well. Anytime you're in Houston, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Hit me up.
Nice. You going to Image next week?
Great question. I'll probably won't go to the conference like proper. It'll just be busy at work, but I'll try to make it down there. Typically try to make it down there for the happy hours and walk the exhibition hall floor.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we'll be there talking with, we're trying to put the IBA team together, whoever's going to win it, right? So it's kind of like they make the announcement, I think, on Sunday or Monday, and then we'll be set up to do podcasts for a day on Wednesday. So one day, I'll get there Tuesday night and get my badge and everything. And then Wednesday, we're set up. I'm going to try to bring in a PhD out of LSU, reached out. The guy's like, I get an email and it just says, I need help. I'm like, the hell is like the start of a movie or something, man. What is this about? And it was Tamer Ali. He's a PhD Egyptian dude out of LSU and has come across some very interesting work that he's really helped put together, which is the Mississippi Valley, the Mississippi River is
okay.
seeping sediment below surface. So you're building buildings across the top of the, near, in these old levees and where you're not very close to the river, but there is this weird sediment seepage happening that's going, a lot of the sediment potentially that's going all the way out to the ocean is actually from seepage that's happening below the surface. And he said in some cases it's actually damaging buildings.
Yeah. I mean, I hadn't studied a ton of that stuff in Arkansas or when I was at Arkansas, but a big portion, of the department there focused on kind of the Mississippi River Valley and stuff. So I don't know if he's talking, much further downstream, I guess.
Yeah, around
But
LSU.
okay, okay. But yeah, there's some interesting stuff with the whole, it's a failed rift. I always like that, and that it's like the Southern Oklahoma Lockogen. You got the Real Foot Rift, and it's like a
Wow.
perpetual low that has just remained.
Whoa.
Funneling water and trapping it in that low spot. And they got the New Madrid fault system over there in the Mississippi River Valley as well.
Man, so
Interesting
his
stuff.
he was reaching out because he's like, man, I want to present this stuff. I want to present it on PBE Podcast. I want to meet, and do this. And I'm thinking, man, come to Image. And so we're trying to raise some funds so we can get a PhD there to talk about all this work, right? All these logs he's put together. He's actually drilled some shallow holes even with some funding. Um, Super interesting. So we're going to try to put that show together. Talk to the president himself, John Cassiano, if he can
Love
spare
that
us
guy.
a. Oh man, yeah, and hopefully with him also, in maybe in October or when it gets a little cooler, we're going to do a little mountain bike special, a little PBE special, and get on some mountain bikes and just go talk it up in the trees, and just kind of have a candid, like, let's get out, enjoy the outdoors, talk about you as president of the freaking AAPG, right? How cool is that? Like right here in San Antonio. Great dude and big vision and huge heart for the industry and just full support of what he's doing and the difference he's going to make. And then when we talked to Bryan Horn. We're going to touch base with him hopefully as well as past president, kind of handing it over to Cassiano. So we'll be there Wednesday doing some stuff during the day. If you can make it on Wednesday, that'd be great, man. Swing by the booth.
Okay.
We'll be in the gathering area where you got your food and everywhere you. It's called the gathering area.
Yep. Yeah, I think I honestly that might have been the last time I ran into you. Uh, are you talking about it's like right across the street from the conference center, I think.
No, no,
Maybe
this is
I'm
in the exhibit hall. In the exhibit
Oh,
hall,
okay, okay.
they call it the gathering area next to where they have all the food and drinks.
Okay. Oh yeah. I'm thinking of there's like some restaurant over there. They have a lot of happy hours. It's called the Grove, I think,
The
maybe. Maybe that's what it's called.
Grove.
But I think I
Yeah.
ran into you there, I don't know, a couple of Urtex ago. Maybe the last time I saw you in person. But
Wow.
uh, yeah, I'll try to make it down there for sure. And you mentioned the IBA thing, and I think, you would ask Brian, like, are they going to allow people to look at that or watch that live? I would love to do that. I just don't know if they're planning to do that or not. I think that'd be super cool, though. I think they'd get a good turnout of people, rooting for their
Right?
schools. Yeah,
Right. That'd be a great way, a great thing to do. It'd be like a football game, except for it's the
yeah,
geologists and engineers, with their shirts off, painted name on their chest, screaming for their team. Hell yeah. I didn't get to follow up on him on if they're going to open that up or not. Typically it's just the judges, right? And then
yeah. I think so.
they come up with the winners. Now, when you go to see who wins, that's obviously open to the big room, right? That's part of like I believe the big opening ceremony maybe in the morning, or I'm not sure exactly when they make the announcement, but that I believe is open to anybody who's got a pass or whatever can get in and watch who wins. But yeah, to see what they worked on, to see how they actually present in the moment, like that's dude, that needs to be promoted big time because that's the next talent. That's the next really like paving the way forward on what we're doing as geoscientists in academia. Like you can be so smart, you can have all these great ideas, but if you can't translate it to other kids and help translate it as a part of a bigger story, you're just not doing yourself any real justice there.
Yeah.
So the IBA is great. So we'll be there. Love to see you there. What's the latest,
Okay.
man? What's the rest of your year look like besides raising a kid, being a dad, that whole thing?
Uh, I mean, yeah, that's kind of the biggest thing. We don't really have much planned. Try to make it back home to Oklahoma every once in a while and see family. My
Nice.
wife's also from Oklahoma.
Okay.
Um, Trying to think. I'm giving a talk. I guess the same talk that we did for the SPE group up in Oklahoma City. So that'll be fun. First time I've ever done it for kind of engineers. And then I think I'm going to give a talk, kind of more Gulf Coast focused at the Shreveport Geologic Society. I think I just signed up for that one today.
Nice.
So get out there, kind of make some of these talks, but just still staying busy with work. Um, and yeah, I mean, I like to play a lot of disc golf, so that's my activity on the weekend.
Okay.
Hope to get that in. My wife plays music around town, so that keeps us
That's
busy
fan.
whenever that's going on.
Yeah.
Um,
She's singer, songwriter, player. Like she's
yep.
just
Yeah. Yeah, she
one of those.
does sings and she plays guitar, she plays piano. She does most of her shows, I'd say, by herself,
Yeah.
playing guitar and piano and singing. But she's also a front lady for a band, and she just sings for them. So
And that band's on Spotify. Where do I get to listen to one of these
no, they're not
jams?
on Spotify.
Okay.
They just do mostly covers and play around town.
Yeah.
So I think that's where I actually
Man.
had run into. I can't remember if Paritosh was at the band show or was just at one of her shows recently, but yeah, she's on Spotify. You can check her out, Bo Bottoms. But mostly
Nice.
the band stuff is just covers and having fun.
Okay. Bo Bottoms like B-O or
Bo Bottoms.
B-A-U-E. B-O Bottoms. Got it. Bo Bottoms, Brian Bottoms, and Benny Bottoms.
Yep.
Just the Bottoms family.
We like the alliteration.
That's
I mean, you got it too, Troy
good.
Tittlemeyer. So,
Yeah, that's right.
do you have
Yep.
any tea babies?
No, no, we not one with Celine, Joe James, and Lucille. Yeah.
Nice, love it. Those are great names.
Yeah. So, man, it's that's good, man. It's great to see you. It's great to catch up on doing a show like this and getting to see some of the work that you do and how you think about these things, putting deals together at such a high level, such an important role for the industry. And then you just gaining the knowledge you're gaining, right? The experience you have and the ability to really talk through this at that high level and how fast you go between formations and production. And I could just ask like a random question and you kind of get where I'm coming from because you built it, right? You spend time with that. And that's the value. The value is you've spent time with it so you can help me speed up my understanding of what I'm looking at and try to make better decisions, right? Make a change in the company or a direct. If I'm exploration manager, I'm thinking, man, that could be a good direction for us to go in. Maybe it's the Red Fork over here, or all these strange little plays. But if you land lateral and you can keep it consistent, if it's there long enough, you can really land in it and make a well.
Sure. Yeah,
Right
good
on.
stuff going around all over Oklahoma. So, and elsewhere. So,
That's the next thing. Next thing is, all right, do we talk Permian? Do we talk Gulf Coast? That's the Vicksburg and the Yawa and gosh, what's the other one? Wilcox. That's what you're talking about when you say Gulf Coast, right?
yeah, so the one I gave at GeoGolf, I would say was more Eagleford, Haynesville focused,
Okay.
mixed in some lithium stuff. I'd given a talk at NAPE
Nice.
a couple years ago on lithium in South Arkansas, and then had some other Cotton Valley plays, and then the Western Haynesville stuff that's kind of well, it's becoming more in vogue now, I'd say, and a lot of operators chasing it, but it's super deep, kind of way off the beaten path from the your standard Haynesville play over. It's in
Yeah.
over in East Texas, but yeah, not as much. I respect all of the conventional geos that map, Wilcox and all of the other Gulf Coast, Vicksburg, et cetera. That Frio, I mean, that
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
whole sandbox over here that I just am not as familiar with. So,
Yeah.
and it,
Tell,
yeah, most of the stuff we do at work here, I would say, is unconventional focused. So it just what we do sell a lot of conventional deals too, but it's just not as much my bread and butter, I guess.
yeah. Yeah. No, that's cool, man. All good, Bryan Bottoms. Well, I think that's a heck of a show. That's a good catch up between us, and then we have a vision, man. Let's see if we can't touch base again in a month. And in between some live shows we got coming up, going to UT Austin next week, and then doing the
Awesome.
image. Yep, trying to do the field trip at WTGS, 6 days at the WTGS. Man, can you imagine 6 days
I
of field tripping?
I would love that. I have yet to go to that one. I find the regional conferences to be my favorite always, and so like I love AAPG MidCon. Went to GeoGolf last year, loved it over in Nacogdoches, but I need to make it out there from Midland to check out the WTGS because it seems to be the
Man.
biggest, and everybody has a good time.
Dude, that field trip is gonna be just lights out. You're just going to so many different things. They go all the way out to the Franklins and back. I think it's like 5 or 6 different spots that we're gonna be hitting. So I'm hoping to get there and then heading up to Colorado School of Mines, talk with
Nice.
Professor Zane Job. You know that name off of LinkedIn? Guy that works up
I don't.
like a
No.
direct he's a director of science of some kind, talking about going up there and learning about what they're doing in that program. So be up there for a couple of days, see some friends in Denver, obviously, while I'm there. And so in between those live shows, I say we get back together and look at your Permian stuff, or I'd be interested in your Eagleford stuff. That's kind of closer to home here for me. And we're tagging in with the STGS a lot more through PBE over the next several months. So, yeah, man, let's do it again. If you're ever in San Antonio, definitely hit me up. Let's get together and talk rocks. Um, yeah,
Would love to do that. Yeah, I have yet to make it over there since I've been in Houston. I still have not been to San Antonio. I guess I take that back. We went once for a work meeting, but we were in and out.
yeah,
So yeah, would love to stop by. You're always like posting photos of some outcrops and stuff that you had found over there too. I'd love to just.
yeah.
I miss seeing the rocks too. You get over to Austin and San Antonio, there's a lot more rocks at the surface. Not so much
That's
here in Houston. So
That's right. No, you're a
yeah,
little bit boring over there as
yeah,
far as rock outcrops, but yeah, go out to Uvalde, see some serpentinites out there. You got obviously Pilot Knob at in Austin. I'm hoping to go and put together a pretty cool kind of field trip idea on, you have the Manette Diapier, that big igneous story that's all through the Balcones fault system and through the Eagleford. Like everybody knows that stuff's punching through all these reservoirs. But how is the muds that it's punching through, how is that connected geochemically or certainly from a kerogen hydration standpoint and all those ideas? So I'm hoping to put some data together there and put out cool geology, talk to cool people doing cool stuff with geology, and just keep doing the PBE thing, man. What do you think of the name, People Behind Energy?
I loved it. I saw that you had changed that and realized that because yeah, you're doing more than just Permian too. So I like it. It's
Yeah.
funny how it fits so well. You lucked out on the acronym there because it's really, I mean, I loved the Permian Basin experience. I mean, that was a great name, and then now this one I think fits you even better in terms of opened yourself
That's
up to a wider swath. So
yeah. Thanks for being a part of this, man, and sharing your time.
yeah, well, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about this, and yeah, don't be a stranger. Hit me up sometime. We can definitely do this again. Talk about other areas. And
Sweet.
yeah, looking forward to everything you're doing. Looking forward to some more episodes coming out. So yeah, keep it up.
Right on. Later. See you, Brian.
All right, later, Troy.